What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Let's Talk Marketing with N-Dub, where I'm your host, Nathan Webster, and I'm excited to chop it up with you today. And today, for this episode, I'm not by myself because this is a meaty topic, y'all. Like, oh my God, like this could be like a 3-4-parter because I got I got the special, the one and only, the undisputed, undefeated, Mr. I could even say Doctor in some ways, Emmanuel Williams. What's up, my man? Welcome to the show.
My guy, I appreciate it, man. Honorary doctor status. That's high praise. I appreciate that, brother.
Absolutely. The way you be waxing deep with some things. So without further ado, but before I forget the housekeeping part, hey, for you first-time listeners, I want to say thank you for joining the show today. I hope you enjoy it. If you do, please rate and comment. We'll love to have your comments and ratings. To my worldwide listeners that have been rocking with me, thank you so much for tuning in again. Y'all, we got to get our ratings up. So if you do, send me that screenshot, email it to me so I can send you a BU t-shirt. It would be a short sleeve one like I'm wearing if you're watching me on YouTube or Instagram. Get your t-shirt, send me the details on the rating of the screenshot. Send it to the info@nwebsterllc.com so you can get your merch. All right, y'all, let's get into it because Emmanuel got mad diamonds to drop. But I'm not going to steal his thunder. Emmanuel, please share with the folks who you are and what you do.
Yeah, man. For first things first, N-Dub, I appreciate you for having me on your platform. It means a lot. So I'm very excited to be here. Once again,
Absolutely.
My name is Emmanuel Williams, Portland native, born and raised. I am the owner, the founder of YPD Equity Consulting, a DEI consulting firm, where I specialize in really conflict management, anti-racism, and such. And basically, it's something that I've been doing over the past few years, and it kind of just came about out of my own curiosity to just solve problems around racism, what it is, understanding racism, what it is and how it works and how it plays out in society and culture. And really, first and foremost, to solve problems for my people, for my family, and just make sure that, all these children, not all these, I have 3 children, father of 3, husband, father of 3. And the children that I'm bringing into the world, I want to make sure that I'm doing my part to create a better world and a better society for my children. And so that when they become adults, they don't look back at me and look at back at my wife and like, why didn't you guys do anything? Why are we going through the same thing? Why are we going through the same problems that you guys went through? Like, things don't seem to have changed that much. And because, a lot of what I've been seeing over the past few years is just there's been change, but then there's similar problems. Like, 2020 looked like 1967, right? And so it's just like, what is happening? So yeah, that's a little bit about me, who I am and what I do and why I do it.
So, y'all, as you know, I don't like to have preemptive conversations, topics. It took us a minute to find this topic for 184, dissecting DEI through the marketing lens. And for those that don't know, DEI stands for diversity, equity, and inclusions. Some people put A in there for accessibility, J in there for justice. There's different ways people chop that up, and even ordering the initials DEI, but it kind of all falls under what used to be under the diversity realm. For some of my listeners that are in the international scene, you may have heard of it too. So that's how we are categorizing the DEI in this, not anything more, but in this episode that may go a little, maybe 2 episodes in this. So I wanted to bring Emmanuel onto the show because I wanted to talk about a couple of things, but from the marketer, when affirmative action, when that was struck down by the Supreme Court, good, bad, or indifferent, one of the major things that come up now is how do we target specific minorities that no longer check the box because the box is gone and they don't identify as such. So how can we find them when there's never been a way to find them except for these things? So when we are talking about DEI through a marketing lens, and we may say BIPOC or diversity, I'm now going to throw the question to you, Emmanuel. When we talk about diversity through a marketing lens, like, how do you break that down and define that?
Well, because DEI is so broad from market, especially if you're talking about affirmative action, and so let's start with affirmative action and let's lead our way up to DEI briefly. I try to keep this as brief as possible, but affirmative action was a thing about giving Black people access to jobs and education and so on and so forth. Right? This is something that comes out of the civil rights. And I don't know 1,000%. I'm not going to say I'm like the foremost expert on affirmative action, but based on my understanding, that's one of those things that came out of civil rights, right, around that era. And so it was about giving Black people access, and then it was like people of color, right? And so, but really, it comes off, the struggle and the plight, by and large, of, for lack of a better term, white terrorism on Black Americans, right? And so there's that part, and then we fast forward to DEI, and so what DEI has turned into, when it was, affirmative action, all that stuff, it was something that was meant to address the injustices and atrocities towards Black people, by and large, for the narrative was our storylines, even though there were other stories in there. Now, DEI is let's address everyone and uplift everyone except for able-bodied straight white males. And so now when I look at DEI and I hear that term, to be honest, even though I am a DEI practitioner because I understand the space that I'm in, it's become a nothing burger, for lack of a better term. Because if you're trying to focus on everybody, you're helping nobody. Right? Like there's no focus. There's no focus in DEI. It's the wild, wild west. And so you're talking about Black, Indigenous, Hispanic, Asian, disabled, women, white women, LGBT, transgender. So it's like, it's everybody. So it's basically whatever percentage of the population is white male is probably what, 20%, 25%, maybe probably even less. I don't even know. Right.
I don't know.
And so it's like, it's an effort to focus on everybody, which means if you can't focus on something, then you're focusing on nothing. And so I don't know if that answered the question directly, but that's what came to mind when you posed the question.
Yeah, no, and it was a baseline because
Yeah.
that's not the goal. When we, let's say I'm hired to do a paid ad, and my goal is to specifically focus on these different groups of people. And now some of those rules have been, not rules, but options have been taken away. It makes things a lot harder. But now we say we use a new classification, and it's even worse than it was before. So in a lot of ways, for me, I didn't really like how it was classified because it was, folks didn't check those boxes to begin with correctly because they felt that it was that people didn't understand that, but then secondly, they didn't do it accurately to where it could benefit us, because maybe somebody checked the box that they were Black, but they were African American, not African, when maybe some of the services that what we were reaching out to were for Africans, because we wanted to focus on immigrants. Now, there's ways that I won't get into those details, and it gets really messy there, but I wanted to at least establish that baseline, because now I want to kind of get into where we almost started getting into before. So, so when it comes to promoting, when we find when it comes to marketing, STP, segment, targeted, and then position yourself in the area to where you can win, and your, say, ads are getting seen, the product or services are getting sold. What do you feel how the Black community, or you can start from the diversity community, or you can start Black community, feel free to talk about how you want to, but how do you think we are being targeted? And I will say specifically for myself, being selfish, as a Black community, do you think we may be also, two questions, or do you think we also may be getting targeted in a way to where it is detrimental to us?
I think the marketing of diversity, is it a good thing? By and large, yes, it should be. It should be a good thing. I'll put it that way. But it hasn't necessarily played out that way. So is the essence of it good? Is the initial idea of it like, oh yeah, that's a good idea? Yeah, it is a good idea. But
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't seem to play out that way. And because of what you mentioned before, like a lot of the diversity marketing is not necessarily from a genuine long-term strategy solution type of place. It's let me check this box.
Right.
Let me create this image. Let me create this facade of diversity. If I could
Mm-hmm.
just do that, if I could just let everyone else, the outside world, think, that I'm diverse as an organization, because a lot of the diversity marketing is really just to, I would say 90% of it is really just to make the employer look good, not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily make the impact on the community that they say they're trying to make an impact on,
And we'll
right?
call that
So it's
we'll
a lot
call that
of,
a brand. We'll say brands.
yeah, it's a brand look for sure. And so there's a lot of impression management going on, a lot of PR going on with the diversity stuff. But if you notice, like the diversity, when you look at the corporate ladder of everything, it's a lot of lower level, entry level type stuff. The
Mm-hmm.
diversity doesn't necessarily go up the tree to the top. And really, when it comes to the people that they're trying to impact or that they say they're trying to impact, you're not necessarily empowering them to rise out of their situation collectively. You're just doing what you can do to say that you made a difference based upon some superficial look of, hey, look, I have a picture of 4 or 5 BIPOC people that went to this school. Come to X and X. I was about to say a college. I don't want to call nobody out, but come
No, don't
come
do
to this
that.
university, right? But your
Mm-hmm.
university is 2% black, but you got a picture of 3 black people, which is 85% of the black student population. But now, the look is like, oh wow, they got black people that go there. Maybe I want to go there. And then you show up, and so I say that. So to answer the question, is it good for us? It could be good for us, but we're in the Pacific Northwest. I'm in Portland or Vancouver, basically the same thing. And I'll talk about black people, like our relationship with this type of marketing. I think we don't see through it. We take it for at face value, and we think, oh, they're trying to help us. And then when we get in there, our experience doesn't match the branding, doesn't match the marketing, and then we get upset. But it's like we have to understand how this works and why they're doing it. And I feel like we have to be more skeptical. Like it would be more healthy if we were more skeptical of the marketing that
Mm-hmm.
is aimed at us, because also we have to understand that we are the product.
Mm-hmm.
We think that we're going there and we're like benefiting. No, we are the product. They get money. There's certain incentives that certain organizations get for hiring and hitting certain quotas. And so
Mm-hmm.
when you got to understand that you're the product, and this is like both sides are getting something out of it. They're not just doing this out of the goodness of their hearts. Like there's metrics that need to be hit, and we have to understand that.
Yeah. So what I didn't want to say, because you somewhat touched on it, I do believe especially after the George Floyd, because there's some things that you said that it's a completely different conversation. But after the George Floyd, a lot of folks pledged, a lot of companies pledged. Now I don't know
Mhm.
the exact number of companies or dollar amount, but it was not 100% fulfilled. We know that. That's
Yeah.
another conversation. Another thing that I
Hmm.
think is good, and to that point, I think it is good for folks to have pledge. But here, my thoughts on that is, and we can get into it just later if you want to dip back into it. But I just wanted to point it out that I think it is good, or was good, that they made a pledge. Now, not everyone that makes a pledge, it doesn't matter if it's for this cause or other causes, they don't always follow through, because when it comes down to it, sometimes you may not have the right people. So people do have good intentions, companies, brands do have good intentions, but when it comes to executing it, which is a completely another issue, not all folks are qualified to go into the DEI space and think they're going to create something that's going to make sense. Because sometimes we got to say, that is racist, pull that back. The other piece to that is that I want to say representation matters. I'm starting to see a lot more representation in these commercials, and it's a beautiful thing. I make this really short, though, is that the equity in who is receiving the benefits for access, profits, and let's just say social equity is just not there. And then lastly, one of the things you said that I really like, how we're products. We are such consumers that we're consuming things that won't scale, won't grow, not innovative. And these are like one-time use products, which in a lot of ways, I will just say, or I could say it shorter this way, we're not buying things that generate wealth. So
Mm.
I loved how you talked about all that. Anything you want to touch back up on?
Nah, you summed it up. You summed it up well.
All right, cool. Cool. So, and here is a topic that I didn't really chat with you, but I do believe in the diversity community when we talk about entrepreneurship, right? Startups, freelancers, all those things when it comes
Yes.
to that ecosystem to promote, say, entrepreneurship or to provide marketing services. I love providing those things, but for some reason, it doesn't always stick. Do you,
Tell me more. What do you mean?
okay, I was I sometimes believe we come as people of color, we come at it
Mm-hmm.
as I don't see another business owner that aspires to be, say, producer, as in the goods and services, in the way that I would like to do it. Maybe we can say that in construction, we can say that in entertainment, we can say that in professional sports, but if I wanted to start an EV, electric vehicle, autonomous vehicle company, where could I do that at? Or if I wanted to start a e-commerce platforms, which are now a lot more out there, but
Mm-hmm.
platforms not so much. But I might say like, no, I'd rather just go work for someone. And
Mm-hmm.
why not? How come we don't say let's work for ourselves?
I'm sorry, my internet broke up a little bit. You said why wouldn't we work for someone else?
Oh, why? No, why? Close. Why would we not want to work for ourselves? As in, why shouldn't we work for ourselves?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, I don't think we're not working for ourselves for a lack of trying, right? Like, so I also, in conjunction with, or not in conjunction with, like, aside from what I do independently with my DEI work, I also work for the Black United Fund of Oregon, right? And so I'm the community justice and equity manager there, and I do a lot of programming and just interacting and interfacing with entrepreneurs all over the city and all over the
Mm-hmm.
state, to be honest. And so there's not a shortage of people that are side hustling and entrepreneurs, especially Black entrepreneurs, right? But there is a lack of access to capital. There's a lack of just knowledge about just basic, financial tools and knowing about business banking. Like, we just don't have all the knowledge, and we don't necessarily have the access to it. And when I'm talking to certain bankers, at the various partners that we have. Sorry for the train in the background. I don't know if you hear that or not. But
Yeah,
all
I
the various
can.
partners
It's all
that we
good.
have, okay, all the various partners that we have, it's like we just black people, we don't have a good relationship with the financial sector, and the financial
Correct.
sector doesn't have a good relationship with us, and because of the way that they've created, how someone qualifies for a higher credit score, so on and so forth. And so I say all that to say, some of these industries that we would love to break into, we where could we even start,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, where is our entry point? There's a lot of capital that has to go into that, a lot of financing, and we just don't have access to it by and large as a collective. And so we would, of course, like, it's easy to work for someone else, and we would lean on that because it's 10 times harder to do it on your own, maybe 20 times harder to do it on your own. And we just
Mm-hmm.
don't have a spot where we can all tap into and, like, all right, this is where I go to be able to build myself up as an entrepreneur. Venture capital doesn't go to us. Venture capital goes to everyone except us, right? And so I think that's what comes to mind when you mention that.
Yeah, it reminds me of which I already talked about creating another Black Wall Street. What would that look like? Because there was, a plethora of them, but they were bombed, they were ransacked, much more, which is another conversation. But no, shoot, there were very successful Black businesses and Black towns, Black cities, hotel owners to plumbers. It didn't matter.
Hmm.
It was self-sufficient. And, I know that, which is another conversation of when segregation came, some folks were happy and other folks were not, because it was coming back to, no, we need to support each other. But again, that's another conversation. So
Yeah.
no, I appreciate you answering it, that because it's all, it's like, what does that look like when it comes to having access to capital? I think that's a conversation a lot of folks don't want to have. We can talk about the progress that has been made, but one of my bosses used to say, when do we stop talking about progress and start talking about how much we're doing? So I don't
Hmm.
think I don't think the financial institution, like you said, VCs, PIs, private institutions, they're not looking to have that conversation yet. And I'm glad we are, so we can start having those conversations. What
Because that conversation is basically about net worth, right? And so, what is your net worth? How much capital do you have up front? How much are you making?
correct?
Are you because most loans are, what is it, like 25 to 1? Like, you got to have $25 for every dollar that you put out, or that every dollar that they lend out. And so, if as a group our average net worth is 10 times less than another reference group, then they're going to go towards the people that have the capital, right? As opposed to lend money to people that don't have the capital. So I think that's just the name of the game. That's how the system works. And when it comes to empowerment, if that's not the primary conversation, all of these diversity initiatives, they're cool just to keep gas in the engine, but you're gonna have to go back to the gas station,
Mm,
and refill it. And it's just a perpetual cycle of, all right, we're going back to the gas station, going back to the gas station. And it's like, when are we gonna replace this thing and get off of this
mm.
gas and move to solar? We got to go solar, guys. Come on, you know. So
Right? From finding new energy sources, clean tech, also the
yeah,
biotech is a big deal. I don't think,
yeah.
I even say, even marketing, I don't see enough folks in marketing as well on the DEI side.
And then when you do see some of the marketing stuff, I'll go ahead. Go ahead. I mean,
No, go ahead. Go ahead. You were going to touch on
I
something
was
I was
gonna
just
say
about to talk.
yeah, I was gonna say I might be. So there, and then there's those marketing efforts where they have, it seems like they have the right intention and they're trying to make the right impact, but it just comes off as insulting or patronizing or objectifying. And it's just like, oh, what? We wanted to represent you. And it's like, no, you're not doing it right.
Mm.
Like, this is all wrong. This is actually offensive, what you're doing. The messaging that you're putting across, so there's that part when the marketing goes bad. Keeping it
So,
equitable goes wrong, for lack of a
whew,
better term.
man. That was going to be my final question. The last time we were in the month of December, and last month was the Indigenous Folks Month, or the Native Americans,
Mm.
American Indians. They have different ways of saying it too. So in doing that, when I saw a promotion that had to get pulled, it was of like a stick art, and let's just say it was extremely offensive. It's like, you need to
Yeah,
hurry up and take that down. How do you
yeah.
recommend and help agencies, or maybe it's not even an agency, but maybe HR departments that want to follow the cultural month celebrations and honor specific heritage and different groups? What is the best way to go about that? And let's just say, if they're like an all white company and they want to do better, what is the right way for them to honor honor these groups without just hiring a token?
Well, man, how much time we got?
Yeah, yeah. I
Oh man,
Take
what?
your time.
I
Take your
mean,
time. Take your time.
okay, okay.
Take your time.
So many things that they could do. The approach. So you do have to hire somebody else. You have to hire somebody. Whoever y'all got on staff is not working out.
Mm.
So you got to hire somebody else. But it's tough. With all the, like, every month is a month now, right? Like, every month is a month for
Right.
somebody now. So it's
Right.
like, how do
True.
you approach it? And that's the whole DEI thing. It's like, because there's so many things to focus on, you can't focus on anything. So that means you can't have an expert, and you can't really go too in depth, because as soon as you get done with this, you have to focus on something else and study up and give your best effort, which is probably going to come off as offensive, right? So and not because you mean it to, but just because you don't have enough information. So I say all that to say, if you really want to hit a home run with honoring certain groups every month or every other month, you're really gonna have to get your ish together a year in advance. You need to hire an outside firm or a person and have them work on this a year in advance so that they can work with you. Maybe they don't do all the work for you, but they work with you and they help someone. Because I know, it's only so much budget typically that's put to and that's why the the advertisers come out the way that they are, because they just put together, slapped it together, not a lot invested in it. So you're gonna have to invest more time and energy and money into it so that you can do a better job and make the impact that you intend to make. Because like you said, and like people want to make, they have the right intentions. It just isn't playing out that well. So you're gonna have to take more time. You can't slap it together and plan 30 days in advance. Plan a year in advance, or maybe at least 6 months in advance, and get the ball rolling so it's well thought out, it's tested. You need people from that group that you're honoring. You need representation from that group, multiple people, not just one person, multiple people, to run this by so that you can get proper input and so that you make the impact that you intend to make. If you don't, it's going to be more and more. And this has happened. It happens every year. It's going to be somebody that puts out some effort and it's going to get pulled because it's insulting, it's patronizing, it's offensive, you're objectifying these people, and that's it. So I would say you have to be well thought out. You have to plan this in advance and take your time and don't just throw it together.
Man, that's good. A follow-up pushback. What if they want to honor, which we know the next holiday coming up that's major, with remembering Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. What if they don't have anyone? What are they supposed to do? Because we know we're not supposed to take a day off. We're supposed to have a day on. What would you advise them to do? Because they don't have a year to plan for this now.
For MLK Day? Mm-hmm. When you say a day off and day on, what do you mean by that?
They say like this is a day on to do service, not a day off to shop sales.
I don't know. I mean, I'm a little radical in my thoughts, bro. So I'm a little radical in my thoughts.
Okay.
This
is the platform for you.
I'll say it like this. Okay, I'm not gonna cuss nothing, but I'll say this: the day of, to be honest, because I'm looking at the constructive result. I understand people have the right intention, but what are the constructive result? What is the impact going to be over time, right? And the way that I coach and the way that I do my workshops is aimed at sustainable growth and progress, not transactional or, hey, hashtag diversity, right? Like in my bio, I'm an anti-racist. Like, no, what does that even mean? What did you do? How are you impacting people? What is the constructive, sustainable results? What constructive and sustainable results are you producing by you taking on this title and by you leaning into this month or this holiday? If there's no constructive results, what are we doing? It's lip service. We're getting ourselves all worked up and we're feeling good. We feel like we did something, but we don't know what we did. And then we're going to wake up 10, 20, 30 years from now and be like, man, why didn't we do more? Why didn't we do better? So I say all that to say, yeah, you can serve on MLK Day if you want to, but everybody's off work. Everybody's at home. Everybody's off school. So what are you going to do? And if you clean up for one day, I mean, it's going to be, we have 3. So what about the other 364 days? Right. And so it's just like
that part.
So it's like you can do something cool just to say that you did it on MLK Day. But for the people that if you're trying to do something, I mean, what are you doing it for and who are you doing it for? Are you doing something for Black people? Or are you doing it for yourself? Like what's the why behind it? And if the why doesn't lead us to sustainable change, then we're just going to be in that same cycle of trying to catch up and ride whatever wave and take the picture and the photo op. And there's going to be no change from it. So I say all that to say, your day of service means nothing to Black people. That's me. Those are Emmanuel Williams' words. The views and opinions of Emmanuel Williams do not reflect Nathan Webster and the end of brand. But respectfully and lovingly and truthfully, your day of service means nothing to us. Because
Mm,
what is your relationship with us? If our relationship is still the same, if the power dynamic is still the same, if we're still underserved and underprivileged and underfinanced and underrepresented, your day of service means nothing.
mm, mhm.
It means absolutely nothing to the people that are still being affected by the system of racism and white supremacy. So
Mm.
affect the system and stop feeding into the system by doing all the things that the system prescribes. Because if you keep doing everything that the system prescribes, then you're actually aiding and abetting the system by doing a whole bunch of nothing. Focusing on nothing and doing a whole bunch of little things that don't amount to anything. Those are
Yeah.
my
So,
views and my opinions. And I reflect.
man, the beautiful thing about this is all of these questions I've asked you were at times a venting, brainstorming session I've been invited to talk about how to
Mm-hmm.
improve a brand's whatever appeal to
Mm-hmm.
diversity, right? And which is why I asked that last question on a say surface level of
Mm-hmm.
what should they do, but in which you say, hey, look, hire the right people. And then the next thing is, okay, for the ones that say, in which there's always that one person that says, well, shoot, I'm going to be the smartest person in the room. Well, we got a holiday coming up next month. What are we going to do? We can't hire a person next month. Well, it comes back to what
Why
you
not?
said.
Why not? Why not? Why can't you? See? And that's what I'm talking about. Like all the excuses that people make up. Well, we can't hire a person. You can't actually make change. So let's make some superficial. Oh, let's just take a picture and let's do a day
Mm,
of service and hashtag day of service. And yeah, you take the shortcut. That's the easy route.
right.
And so from a DEI practitioner to, those that are looking to improve their brand around these topics, actually do the thing in real life, in real time. And I'm not saying, somebody is racist, but like in general, live a lifestyle that is truly anti-racist and a lifestyle, not just do little things that give off the impression of, hey, I value diversity. Actually
Mm-hmm.
do it. That is the brand. Your
Mm,
brand could be your lifestyle. Your brand could be actually what your company looks like. You could
mm-hmm.
be living it out. And then you'll have even more organic stories to tell as opposed to keep making up and trying to follow narratives that the system prescribes you to follow. You could actually do it and you can create your own story. And then it gets to the
Mm-hmm.
point where you don't even, I mean, I'm not trying to put nobody out of business, of course, but like you don't even have to necessarily pay a whole bunch, all these other agencies when you are the story. You
Mm-hmm.
are the narrative.
Man, see, and
Do
that
just
right
just do it.
there.
Just do it. Mhm.
See, y'all, I
Yeah.
had to make sure before this I had to get him in the right spot because we wanted to talk marketing because he got a show and that he puts out and he be dropping bombs, but it's not necessarily marketing focused. But I know he could talk on that if I could frame it just right, and it's really
Hmm.
hard because there's so many of these conversations are delicate and
Yeah.
it's easy where we can count do the cancel culture, we can boycott it and all these things, but are we having these conversations? And I know this is a little bit longer of a podcast than the normal one, coming back to what I was saying before, or as you even just said, not me, what you said, are you having these conversations, or do you want to have excuses? So thank
Right.
you. And for those that want to listen in to your fire, where can they tune in at?
Oh man, at this point, it's a show but it's not necessarily it's not fully produced. We really be freestyling, but it goes down. So you can follow me on my Instagram at emmanuelwilliams.co. But really, to really get the real fire, and if you want me to come, speak at your event, keynote, or do workshops, whatever the case might be, anti-racism workshops, and go to emmanuelwilliams.co. You can see more of my work there. You can be able to book me, and we can really get down to it, because that's where the real fire is. Like if you like the live, just me and my guys, just kind of going back and forth, just a little banter here and there. The workshops that I do, there's one that I've been doing and it's been going off really well, the Impeccable Ally Workshop, which is all
Mm,
about making sure that it really feeds into this conversation. And the impeccable ally is like, all right, you see yourself as an ally, you want to do better, but you're not making the impact that you've intended to make. Why is
Mm-hmm.
this happening across the board? Why is this happening? There's very specific reasons why this is happening. And so, in that workshop, I talk about, understanding race and racism, what it is and how it works, understanding racial classification, the messaging that has gone into racial classification going back to the
Mm.
1700s and how it still plays out today. I talk about certain moves of quote unquote, allies or white progressives and certain phrases and things that a lot of folks say and they mean well in their impression management, but it comes off as insulting, patronizing, offensive, or objectifying, and therefore you're not able to make the connection that you intend to make. Not because you mean to do the wrong thing, but because you don't know any better, because society has kind of framed people in this way in your relationship to others, people of color. This is how you deal with them. This is how you talk to them. This is how you make a good impression. And in the midst of making a good impression, you're actually causing people to be on defense. And
Mm.
so, and then I teach a 5-step plan of building trust and making those connections that you intend to make. So the workshop is the real fire. And so get at me, emmanuelwilliams.co. And also my email, or just email me directly, ypdevelopment2030.
All right. Boom. I got both of those. I'm gonna make sure I just went to the site, so I have it. I will definitely put that in the show notes. So this is awesome. Thank you. Yeah, this looks great. And for those that are still listening, you like, okay, so what's the whole point of this? Y'all, I used to get hit up probably once a month pre-pandemic. Ever since the pandemic hit, I don't get hit up the same. And I think it's because there's so many folks that have came out as DEI experts or professionals, or there's some sort of work. And I'm not in that space, but I would be asked these questions of, I want to have a more diverse clientele or a more diverse customer base, or I want to have a more diverse team. And I'm like, it's not just one tactic. It's not just one strategy. There's so much more
Right.
to it. And that's not all marketing. That's more business development, but that's also
Yes.
personnel. There's yeah, that is a, I don't want to say a huge conversation to be had, but it is a multiple layered process that needs to happen. So I appreciate you coming on the show, because now I can just say, hey, y'all check out this podcast that I did with Emmanuel Williams. He has his own business too that he can help you with, and let's just go that route, because I'm more so focused on how can I help you with your lead acquisition, in spite of, or not in spite that you are trying to now break down, you trying to reach a Latino population of XYZ, or a queer population XY. Look, y'all, that's a lot of work. That's a lot of work.
It's a
And
lot of
honestly,
work.
I don't want to do that. That's not what I signed up for, or why I created my marketing agency. So, man, I
Yeah.
appreciate that. And the best way to contact you, Emmanuel, is going to be Instagram, email, or all the above.
Email for sure.
Got it. All right, my man. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me, bro. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. And with that, y'all heard it first here on Let's Talk Marketing with NDub, where I'm your host, Nathan Webster. I'm excited that you were able to listen to the very end. And I'm sorry if you got uncomfortable, but I'm not sorry, because this is why we have these conversations. I should have said a disclaimer in the beginning, but just so you know, these are lived experiences and things that we deal with every single day. So we are here to help you, because look, we in this thing called life together. So why not make it enjoyable? It's either you're part of the problem or you're part of the solution. So hopefully
Mm.
this helped you become better, wiser, stronger, for you to apply this. And the next time this problem comes up, now you have a podcast, you have a video, you have a person, you have access to workshops, someone to guide you through it, thanks to Emmanuel Williams. So without further ado, I'm going to let you get back to what you're doing. I wish you nothing but the best. So dream big and Godspeed.